the cinematic screen-presenting movie called Just Mercy, which is a true story about Walter McMillian. It starts in the 1980s, where we see Walter McMillian, who is an African American. He lives in Alabama and is accused of killing a white girl named Rhonda, who was 18 years old. The police officer who arrests him also has a hatred for black people. Walter claims he can prove his innocence, but nobody listens to him, and he is sentenced to death for Rhonda's murder. Before that, he is sent to jail for trial. And as 2 years go by, we come to the 1990s, where we see Bryan Stevenson, who is a Harvard Law graduate and has become a lawyer. After becoming a lawyer, he starts working at the Equal Justice Initiative. You see, back then, there was a lot of discrimination between black and white people. White people used to oppress black people in every field, and Bryan himself is a black man. Bryan meets Eva Ansley here, who is also a lawyer and has a heart as pure as Bryan's. Together, they form their organization called the Equal Justice Initiative. Here, they fight cases for free for people who have been falsely accused and sent to jail. Now Bryan wants to open his own office, but being a black man, nobody gives him an office. So Bryan starts his work from home. He goes to state prison to meet the inmates, but in the name of checking, all his clothes are taken off because he is a black man, and he meets the inmates from the death row department. You see, that department is where the inmates who are going to be executed soon are kept. It turns out that most of the inmates in this department are black men. Actually, he's just looking for prisoners who he thinks are innocent and can fight their case. And now he meets the waiter. He asks the waiter a question. He tells him that he's wasting his time. The government here never makes any decision in favor of black people, so you should leave from here. And now Bryan looks at the file of his case, and he is completely surprised because 2 people had testified against the waiter, and no one is ever sentenced based on their testimony. And one of the 2 people who testified against the waiter is the culprit, and the culprit's testimony is never considered valid. Bryan becomes convinced that the waiter is innocent. His case can be fought, and he decides to fight the waiter's case first. And Bryan meets the waiter's friends, and he learns that on the day of the murder, Bryan was somewhere else with his friends. He is a well-known businessman in his community, but Bryan's biggest mistake was having an affair with a white woman, and the white community absolutely did not like it. Straight up, the white community did not like him at all. There's another guy here named Danish. He tells Bryan that I know the witness who testified against the waiter, and the girl who was accused of murder. Walter was arrested. She was sentenced to death. When the girl was murdered, the witness who testified against the waiter, he was with me at that time. He tells the driver that you will have to testify in court. He agrees to his request, and you have a very strong witness with Bryan. Bryan collects all the evidence he has found so far and puts them in one file, then goes straight to Tommy Chapman. Chapman is the lawyer who fought the case against Walter. He was the one who got him convicted. Now, Bryan wants to show Tommy the file so he can prove that Walter is completely innocent. But Tommy Chapman tells him that Walter is not innocent. He is the killer. He doesn't look at his file and says that no one can save Walter now. Disappointed, Bryan walks away. Later, when Bryan is working at Eva's house with his partner, he receives a threatening call and is told that he has to leave Bryan. If he stays with him, they will kill him. They have planted a bomb under his house and they have the remote. If they press the button, his whole house will explode. Eva gets scared by this and calls the police. The next moment, it is shown that there are many police officers outside her house. She tries to find the bomb everywhere, but she doesn't find any bomb near Eva's house. Even though the pressure is everywhere for Bryan, he still works with him, and they open their own office together. Here they are fighting the case of another prisoner named Herbert, who is accused of killing his girlfriend with a bomb. Herbert's mental condition is not completely stable, and this is not mentioned in his case file. And now they know this fact. That's why Bryan appeals in court to extend Herbert's death sentence so that he can have more time and investigate his case. On the other hand, a police car is shown going outside Darnell's house. Darnell is the guy who testified in Walter's case, and now the police arrest him and take him with them. And when Bryan finds out about this, he goes to the police station and tells the police officers that no matter how hard they try, they won't catch Darnell with his testimony. But now Darnell has changed his mind because he's been scared really badly. He doesn't want to get involved in any kind of trouble, so now he won't testify. This really upsets Bryan because he was the only witness in Walter's case. But Bryan still doesn't give up, and one day, when he's driving his car, 2 police officers stop him. They tell him to get out of the car, and then they proceed to search his entire car for no reason. They don't give him any explanation for this. They're just bothering Bryan. Meanwhile, Bryan had appealed Herbert's case in court. The appeal is completely rejected. And sir, he is told that Herbert will be sentenced to death for killing his girlfriend. This really saddens Bryan. He goes to Herbert and tells him that he will be with him in his last moments of life. After this, Bryan meets the prisoner who testified against Walter. He tells him that he has to tell the truth, but the prisoner clearly refuses. This is the second witness who testified against Walter. He himself is a prisoner, and now Bryan somehow gets hold of the recorded statements of this witness. Actually, he gave 2 statements. One day earlier, he said that Walter is completely innocent, but in the second statement, he said that Walter is the one who committed the murder. Bryan also finds out that this witness himself was one of the death row inmates, but he was separated from them after giving his testimony. Bryan understands the whole situation, that the police forced him to do this because they didn't like Walter at all, as he was having an affair with a white girl. And now, Bryan goes to this witness again and tells him that he knows that he was also one of the death row inmates, but when he testified against Walter, after that, he was separated from those inmates. And now, this witness starts telling him the whole truth. He says that the police officer told me to do it. He tortured me a lot. That's why I was forced to testify against Walter. And after Bryan explains, once again, he is ready to give his testimony. In other words, he wants to tell the truth. Bryan presents him in court. He tells the judge that the police forced me to lie, but the judge thinks he is lying. He is changing his testimony, so the judge dismisses the case completely. This makes Bryan very sad, but he still doesn't give up. Bryan goes on a very big TV show called 15 Minutes and tells the whole world about Walter's case. He tells how Walter is innocent. His case is not being paid attention to, and the only reason is that he is a Black American. He appeals to the state government to open his case in the Supreme Court. Bryan's complete statement, once again, offers to reopen Walter's case, and this makes Bryan and all Black people very happy. Bryan says whatever statement, whatever he says against the police administration, whatever he says against Alabama's administration, people here start raising their voices. People and the media start saying that the police, the administration, the security forces should not discriminate based on color. Everyone should be given equal rights. And now Bryan goes back to the champion who will fight Walter's case. That's why Walter had his first hearing. And once again, Bryan tells him that Walter is innocent. All the charges against him should be completely dropped, but Chapman does not believe him at all. That's why he tells Bryan to leave that place. Walter's case becomes very famous in the media, which Chapman also sees, and he himself investigates this case. And when he investigates this case deeply, he understands that there has been some injustice with Walter. He's innocent, you know. He goes to Bryan and tells him that he'll support him. And when there's a hearing in court for Walter's case, the chairman is also there. The chairman dismisses all the accusations that Walter had made against him, proving Walter completely innocent. Walter, who was supposed to be sentenced to death, is now set free because of Bryan. Tears come to Walter's eyes. He can't believe that he's going to be released from prison now. Walter's family is overjoyed at his release, and then it is shown that Walter is meeting all the inmates as he leaves the jail. Now he will live the life of a free bird. Meanwhile, Bryan and his wife, his wide partner, decide that they will help people like them who have been wrongly imprisoned without any fault, whose case no one is fighting for. On the other hand, Walter and Bryan are shown. They live their entire lives as friends. However, it was proven that Walter did not commit the murder of that girl, but the case was never solved. This is not just Walter's life story. In such a world, there are many innocent people who do not receive any punishment, yet they spend their entire lives in prison. And the movie ends. So that was the true story of Bryan and Walter, which was made into a film in 2019 called Just Mercy. My friends, in this way, our video today comes to an end. We hope that you enjoyed it. We hope that you liked this story. So guys, if you liked the video, then like and comment, and let us know which other movie you would like to see. And subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Turn on notifications so that you keep getting video notifications. Thank you.